Hello, and welcome to Conscious Curiosities, where we unlock the wisdom of the universe which lies within us. I'm Maria Luz, your host, an astrologer, psychic medium, and hypnotist. And this week, I'm going to talk about a couple of things that are happening astrologically. One is on October 19th, which is Sunday. Mars and Mercury will be making a conjunction, which is a meeting in the sky in the sign of Scorpio. And then on Tuesday, we have the new moon, and that is when the moon meets up with the sun in the sky. And it's at the very end of the sign of Libra. So I know that I listen to other astrology podcasts, and sometimes I almost feel like I have to take notes or there's going to be a quiz or something at the end. And there's so much information that's given. And while I do appreciate it, I also can't keep all of those things in my head. So that's why I'm going to try out just maybe focusing on one or two things each week. And I really do want to keep the moon phase at the center because I don't know. I'm feeling like more and more people are finding that the artificial pace and schedule and things that we're asked to do in the space of a day or a week or a month are just unreasonable, or they don't feel good, or they don't feel good all the time anyway. And so I think knowing what's happening with the moon in relation to the sun may be helpful because it can give us at least a little validation as to why we might be feeling the things we're feeling in relation to all of the things that we're trying to accomplish. So that is a good segue to Mars and Mercury because Mars is our verb. It's our action. It makes us go and go after what we want in life, what we truly desire. And it's very fiery and has a sense of urgency and survival to it. And of course, too much Mars is not necessarily a good thing, but we need it strategically. We need to be aware of it. And when Mercury is conjunct Mars, we are very aware of it, thankfully, or maybe not so thankfully, depending on what's going on with you. But Mercury is how we perceive things and then how we communicate them out and how we process information. And when Mercury is conjunct another planet, whether it's in your birth chart or in the sky, it it means that it the planet it's conjunct with, we're very cognizant of that planet and that planet's agenda and its preferences, and how it does things and what it's going to impact. And so when Mars is in the sign of Scorpio, what is that verb? What is Mars doing or wanting to do? And in Scorpio, we're really wanting to get to the truth of the matter, even if it's difficult, if it's painful, if that truth has to die, if it has to be released, because Scorpio wants to transform. It needs to transform. And we can't do that if we are in denial, because things are just going to come up again. So Mars is going to want to dig, get to the bottom of any of those underlying psychological issues that maybe at other times, when Mars is in other signs, we that might not be our first impulse to take action on. And so when Mercury is right beside Mars, Mercury also being in Scorpio, there's a huge assist to process psychologically. Um, it can also be, you can probably imagine this, but it could also lend to maybe over rumination and becoming maybe vengeful or paranoid. And so be aware of that as well. And like I said, we need to use the energies strategically. And so when I look at, that exact conjunction is happening 2 days before the new moon, and the new moon is at the very end of Libra. And so new moons are the time, to plant seeds. We have a fresh start. It can also be when things are dark, in the sky. So we're not necessarily seeing everything unless we're intentionally trying. And having gone now with the sun through the entire sign, almost the entire sign of Libra, Libra is about relationships and about values and about harmony and balance and justice. And I feel like it's with that combination of the Mars and Mercury conjunction in Scorpio, it's asking us once again to look at how we are in relationship. And have we been allowing our subconscious, our, deep psychology to cause us to unknowingly repeat unhealthy habits in relationships, whether it's getting into relationships with the same version of person that never works out for us, or whether it's us repeating the same pattern, like suffering in silence, allowing resentment to build up, or codependency. And we've had just a lot of focus from the astrology over the past few years in the area of relationship. And there's it's no accident that in popular psychology and culture there's been so much talk about boundary work, because of course that plays out most dramatically in relationships, even though boundaries are about us, they're internal. They're not like making up rules for other people. They're our decision about what we will and will not accept into our space and what we won't allow ourselves to leak out of our space. So it's very much about this energy. So I think it's the perfect opportunity with this new moon to do a little summary of where do I stand in all of the relationships that are important to me, or do I have relationships that are important to me, or is my energy being spent elsewhere? Like, am I avoiding being in relationship because there's some underlying fear that there's going to be pain involved? So, with that psychological energy, I think looking at what's underneath our behavior so that we can consciously, again, with the new moon, it's dark, so we can consciously look under the bed and see the scary thing. And that will be our first step to releasing what may be unconsciously sabotaging our happiness and our ability to thrive and feel good in our lives. So I will leave you with that. As always, I would be happy to hear from you. You can email me at info@marialuz.online. happy to see you over on my website to book a session with me as well at marialuz.online. Thanks so much for listening and have a great day.